Peace, good evening. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the File Playland. As always, I'm a File Player. Wanted to talk about the New York migration crisis as it relates to today's date, which I believe today will be the 14th of September 2023. A lot of what you see, like in regards to like my city, New York City, with in terms of migration, has been an influx of like the bad scenes, if you will, because there are only bad scenes in relation to this crisis, like with the migrant crisis. Nothing good has come of it. Culturally, they didn't come with like great culture and like people are dancing to Spanish music in the streets. It's not happening. What you see is a bunch of people. You brought up extremely poor class of people into a city that already had a problem with another extremely poor class of people, that is like homeless and people that are in the shelter system and people that are just living in poverty, like I came up. Having said that, what you've seen thus far, like the bad signs of it in New York, it's what you see if you're looking on regular media, which is overcrowding, which is resulting in people sleeping in the streets. You're getting the shelters are extremely blasted out in terms of the them kicking out regular people from shelters, like regular people that are homeless, New York City residents, or New York City battered women's shelters. Battered women are what you normally see in shelters. People that are in the outs. Some of those people have been replaced by these new migrants that have entered New York City. And that's like you're also seeing pictures of and video of people sleeping on the street. Most of that has been migrants, like outside of like the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, sleeping in the middle of the street. Now I was just thinking, like while I was showering, like what that may look like in months to come. I was just taking a walk with my wife, and it was probably it was balmy, but it was probably like a 70 degrees. It's only gonna get colder. Now New York City, I mean, like at its worst, you're talking sub-zero temperatures. Extremely windy, and what that crisis is gonna look like then. Because right now I know people are sleeping in the street because they have nowhere to place them. Like any spots that they could have been placed at, like federal land in New York as it relates to New York City, is booked up. Like it's they're either not letting them go into certain places, like one federal spot they opened up for them is a place called Floyd Bennett Field that used to be an airfield for the Army. But there was another spot, which was an old fort in Staten Island, an old historic fort. I think it's called Fort Totten, that they're not allowed to use. But and I could see why, like in the Staten Island case, because there's a historic element to it. Like it's like a nice looking. I think it's the oldest fort in the East Coast. But they don't use it for anything except for like historic purposes. But anyhow, in terms of like hotels, shelter space, unused government space, all that stuff is booked up to the core. Like I'm not sure if all residential places are used. Like if they do some sort of eminent domain on, say, like a high-rise that they built in the hopes of selling it as condos, because we have a lot of that. But even that stuff, like you have trouble with people like that are actually paying for apartments, like big money apartments, like New York City apartments. Like you're talking, like even in my neighborhood, like, and I live like in the hood kind of. You're talking $2,000 and up, like for a regular 1 or 2 bedroom house. But so that stuff can't be eminent domain because there's actually people. You don't have a lot of those like that are available. There are actually people that are eating those up, just regular cats that are like, trying to move their family into it. In addition to spots that they've built up, like condos and high rises, like to rent out or to sell, those are being sold up too. Like I don't know why anybody would invest in that, especially now. But during like the Corona crisis, like I mean, or Corona era, a lot of people were buying those. Like those prices of those are skyrocketing, and rent like I mentioned before, is also in addition to already being expensive. Those rates are going up and up and up every day. Nobody says that the rate of rent in New York is going down in any area in New York, any of the boroughs, in Manhattan, in the city, all that stuff keeps climbing up. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to live there, but in spite of that, it still is a steady um, increase in price. The only thing that you do see available in New York are retail places, like storefronts that are, you see swaths of them that are open, or that are not rented, like on Broadway, near City Hall, for instance. There's a whole strip there that's not rented. And I think they're not rented because during COVID, a lot of places in New York, a storefront in New York, some of them could, like, when you talk about like Times Square area, you're talking like 100 grand a month. But anywhere in Manhattan, it's 30 grand a month easy for a regular storefront. So during COVID, what happened with a lot of those storefronts is that they were no longer really in use, and the leases ran out. And I guess the people that owned them, the landlords, were expecting that the prices would be somewhat to what they last rented them out for. Like, let's say if some of them were renting for like 20 grand, they were probably expecting at worst case scenario to rent them out for like 15 grand. And like some storefronts, like in the Upper East Side, or like restaurant spaces, you could catch them now for like 7,500, let's say, for a like a cafe or something like that. Because I look up these prices too. That's the only spaces that I see somewhat available, but I don't think many landlords would be willing to rent those out for the purpose of housing migrants. In addition to the fact that a lot of those places, if they have like a bathroom, it's not a bathroom to take like with a shower. It's basically like a bathroom like you would find in a restaurant. So I don't even see, I could see that being something that they'll use in a bind, because the crisis is so bad. Because according to Mayor Adams, right now we have 115,000 immigrants, and that number keeps increasing. Some people say that we're getting 10,000 per week or per month, I believe. But either way, we're getting about 10,000 a clip. And you can see it. Like, I mean, in my neighborhood, it doesn't seem like there's empty space anywhere. Like, except for some retail stores. But there doesn't seem like there's empty space, like apartments for rent. Like, you don't see signs of apartments for rent. But you haven't been seeing those for a long time. But I do know that the rates of rent in my neighborhood and everywhere in New York, like I said, they're increasing. So I made this video more to see what this crisis entails for the future, the immediate future, when it does start getting cold. Because, like, I remember the first video of seeing people sleeping outside. Like, a bunch of people was outside of the Roosevelt Hotel, which is in Midtown Manhattan. I believe it's on 45th Street in Midtown Manhattan, if I remember correctly. And a Dominican guy in Spanish, and I understood what he's saying because I speak Spanish, was saying like how, like, he was recording a bunch of people that were sleeping outside of the Roosevelt Hotel, saying that this can't stay like this, that they gotta have somewhere for these people to go. And that's a bad look, no doubt, regardless of the weather. It was really hot during that time, I remember. Now imagine that shit in the winter. Like, imagine that, like, when it hits sub-zero temperatures, like, where it's not a bearable element to sleep in. Because at the end of the day, you could sleep outside in the summer. Like, it's the only time you could sleep outside in the summer. Some of these cats that are coming up here, like, they're probably from Venezuela, from Africa, from these Arabic countries, and it's blazing hot there too. So they're used to sleeping outside. I mean, used to sleeping in hot weather. But they ain't used to no winter. I'll tell you that right now, especially a New York winter. So I mean, I'm trying to think of like where this crisis is gonna go, because it just seems like it's going nowhere fast. There's nothing done to mitigate the crisis of people coming in to the country and eventually ending up in New York. That's Mayor Adams' request now. And Mayor Adams, as much as of a screw up I think he is, now he's starting to change his tune in terms of New York being a safe haven for migrants, and saying the quiet part out loud that they should be doing something at the border. Now I don't like want to, even though I don't agree with Mayor Adams' policies or almost 100% of the Democrats, I don't want to use that as a flex. Like, oh yeah, just keep sending people to New York so you could have them eat their own words, like and show them what it's really like when you say that we'll welcome anybody into the city. No, because my mom still lives there, my family still lives there. In addition to, like, that's like 10 miles from my house, like, and I live in the suburbs, and you're a train ride away from where I live, like, and hell's no, I don't want, like, no, I don't want anybody moving into my neighborhood. Period. I would rather keep the numbers down of anybody, even the upper class, like super ritzy, like, yuppies. Like, I don't want nobody moving in here. I don't want to see more people. Like, seeing more people is for anybody. You don't, like, you only a jagoff would want to go outside and, oh, let me see who I run into. Like, that's for young people. Like, I'm old. Like, I'd rather see less as I go outside. But I sure as hell don't want to see no starving ass, like, migrant in the winter, like, with him thinking, I slept outside last night, or I slept on the trains last night. This country sucks. I don't care if I go to jail. Like, I'm gonna get it. Like, if I need it, I'm gonna take it, and have that frame of mind. I don't want to see 100,000 people have that frame of mind, which is what a lot of those people are gonna come to. You're gonna have people living their first winter ever in New York City, like their first experience of weather that's below 50 degrees in New York City, broke as hell, starving, never seen a skyscraper, and I don't feel like it, like, at the end of the day, I'm a human being too. I don't want to see nobody going through it like that, even though, like, the people that do, like, are coming, I'll say it straight up, like, they don't look like some happy-go-lucky, oh, I'm looking for a new place, like I'm just trying to bring my family over. Nah, like, what I see coming over is straight up dudes. Like, if things were so bad, like, somebody, my guest on my show, my brother Born FOG, made a point of if you're running from a war zone in your country, you would take your family with you. Like, like, these dudes are coming, just them. Like, if things were so bad in your country, you should have got it popping in your country, and, like, try to make it not bad. Like, try to beat the bad people in your country. But it doesn't seem like these dudes are fleeing a war zone. These dudes seem like they're rough customers, like, to put it lightly. And I'm a rough customer myself. But even the toughest dude, like, and I know only tough people in my neighborhood. They don't say, like, oh, well, like, because these, like, some people that are coming over, they look like they have bad, like, that are in my neighborhood. A lot of them have bad intentions. They're cutting people, but not even a tough person, like, goes out and says, well, like, I'm gonna go out and do battle, or I want to go out and do battle every day. Like, like, most people just want to go out and go to the store and go back home safely. Nobody looks at, like, having more potential foes out there as some sort of adventure. I don't care how thugged out you are or how gooned up you are, like, nobody wants that. Nobody wants new combatants entering the field, if you will. So, not only are you going to have new people entering the field, you're going to have new people potentially sleeping outdoors in the winter, next month maybe. Like, we're already in September. It starts getting cold this month, October. Next month, where like, if you're sleeping outside, you're freezing your ass off come October. So I don't know where this the whole thing is headed. Um, I have my theories, more so like domestically, like what's happening across the whole country. It's a little bit harder to say what's happening in the city because because you could change the dynamic in New York City so fast. Like I mean, like our population increased with just migrants by 2% or a little over 2%, and look at how much chaos it's causing. And nobody's saying like if anybody tries to play it out like it's something else, like oh these racist ass New Yorkers don't want them there. New York is straight up like Spanish, black, like yuppies. I mean, but you don't hear the yuppies bitching because they live in high rises and like with doormen, or like they're too cowardly to give an opinion that makes them seem like they're racist or something. But you know, the this all this chaos is caused by an increase of 2% of the population in theory. If those are the real numbers of 115,000 migrants, which I think is way more than that. But I can. But what I wanted to say is that I mean I have my theory of what's happening, or why is this happening, like for the whole country. But in terms of how or why this is happening for the whole city, or like for me to try to take a guess, what's it gonna entail, you know, in 2024 or like beyond. I mean, it's really hard. Like, it's somebody who's lived in the same neighborhood his whole life, pretty much. And I don't even know what's gonna happen in a few months with this whole thing. I mean, it's all falling apart. Like, don't let nobody front on you and tell you differently. Um, Most people, like, I mean, you go to my neighborhood, and I was there the other day driving around and hanging out till like 4 in the morning. I didn't see one person hanging out, like one group hanging out outside in my neighborhood. Like not only in my street, but any street in my neighborhood in Sunset Park, 49th and 5th, 49th and 6th, 49th and 4th, my block, 46th and 5th, 46th and 6th, 52nd and 5th, 52nd and 6th, 53rd and 5th. You didn't see one group of people hanging out outside, and that was never happen on a summer day. So, and I don't know, like, and I think that was pre-COVID, that was kind of the same, but now I didn't see one block with a couple of guys and chicks hanging out outside, having a good time, enjoying the summer midnight air. Not one place. Even though from the time I left to now, there's probably 50% more people living in my neighborhood. You know, like I don't know if people weren't outside because it's just like miserable, or you just run into too many crazy people. Who knows? But I would have never predicted that ever, because on my street alone, there were times where on my block you'd see 40 people hanging out outside almost every night. For that to go to like zero. I mean, and it's not an indication of much. I mean, it is an indication of a lot. You don't see any young people outside. Anybody. You don't see anybody outside like at night. I don't know if it's because it's too dangerous, which it is. Who knows? But and I don't know if that's citywide. Could be. But it's really strange times, and more so because I can't give an estimation of what's going to happen, come the fall or winter, and I'm a New York City expert in my eyes, from living there and just being in tune, but I feel just as lost as one of the people there that doesn't know what's going on. But just wanted to make this quick rant. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. With that, I'm out. Peace.